Hi, I'm Dan Wright, president of ModWright Instruments. I'm here today to talk to you about the analog bridge tube analog processor. We started off life, ModWright Instruments did, as a modifier, putting tubes, we're most known for is putting tubes in digital players. We did this for years, Oppo, Sony, Denon, Pioneer. At the time when we shifted away from this, at this time we do not offer modifications, we only make our own products. I said, what are we going to do to fill that niche where people wanted tubes with their digital? And so I set about to design a product that would give us the benefits of this as an accessory, but most of all does no harm to the signal path. Let me back up a little bit. It's a unity gain circuit. It has two parallel tube circuits, one 6922 based, one 6SN7 based. Both of these circuits are fed from a tube rectified power supply. The reason for the two different tube circuits is 6SN7 and 6922 have very different tonality. In my opinion, 6SN7 is warmer, fuller bodied. 6922 is more resolving and more neutral. The tube rectifier adds a different dimensionality of body and weight, and different rectifier tubes sound different. So essentially you have three variables that you can change to adjust the tone of your system the way you want. The reason the two circuits are in parallel and are used, on front we have a toggle switch that allows you to select one tube type or a second tube type on the fly. In the middle, the circuit mutes for a split second, change the switch and the other circuit is engaged. No pops, no ticks, no problems. So you can be listening to jazz 1 minute, classical the next, and you're like, you know what, for jazz I want the 6SN7, for classical I want the 6922. Okay, so what is the analog bridge? As I said, it is a unity gain tube processor. It has a very high input impedance, has a very, very low output impedance. As such, you could use it between your source and your preamp. You can use it between your preamp and your amp. If you had a simple system with, say, a stepped attenuator or a digital source with a built-in volume control and an amplifier, you can put it between them. And one of the biggest benefits it does for you is it buffers current into the amplifier and matches the impedance. So it does a few things. Tonally, yes, it's giving you the body of tubes, the three-dimensionality, the sound stage that you want. It also offers ideal impedance matching between the analog bridge and the amp. Additionally, between then, whatever you had preceding the amplifier. So, for instance, you have an amp with a 10K input impedance and you have a source of maybe a 1K output impedance, not very ideal. You put the analog bridge between them and all of a sudden you've got the analog bridge with a 20 ohm output impedance and the amplifier is quite happy. So, let's take a look under the hood and I'll show you a bit more of the inner workings of the analog bridge. 6SN7 tubes are in the back. These are your octal tube sockets, your big bottles. 6922 tubes are right here. This is your tube rectifier. Everything about the layout of all of our products is very purposefully done. It's intent specific. The transformer centered in the chassis and the location of it relative to the power supply and the output tubes keeps noise at a minimum. ModWright capacitors are used inside for their excellent sound. Everything is on a PCB, grounded and laid out very specifically. And as you can see, the layout is clean and simple. So, if you are looking for a product, let's say you have an all solid state system and you love it. But sometimes it's a bit lean, it's a bit bright, it feels a little thin. And you think, well, I don't want to go to a tube amp. I don't want to deal with replacing tubes, all the maintenance. I don't really want to replace my preamp either because I like my preamp. I like my source. So one thing you can do with the analog bridge is add this as an accessory to the signal path and achieve the goal you're after of adding some warmth, some body, not just warmth, but adding tonality, adding three-dimensionality, adding body. When I say add something to the signal path, everybody tenses up. Well, adding something is not necessarily a bad thing. As I said earlier, do no harm is the first intent of this product. Do not limit frequency. It's flat to 150 kilohertz. Do not add noise. It's ridiculously low noise floor. Do not add distortion. It's below 0.003%, which for tube products is almost unheard of. So what you have is a product that's essentially transparent in all the ways that we care about, and yet adds the tonality and the missing link, if you will, to our all solid state system or other system that simply needs more body and three-dimensionality. I'm Dan Wright. This is the Analog Bridge from ModWright Instruments. Please check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Thank you.